back to LarryB YouTube channel. In today's class, we are going to learn how to make this beautiful hoodie dress that we see here. It has a V neckline in front. It has this beautiful hoodie on the neckline area as well. It has this tassel on the waistline. The sleeve is an elastic. It's a puff sleeve that has an elastic. It's very comfortable and easy to wear. It's a free dress, and this is what it looks like on the back. You can see the hoodie at the back is like, it has like drapes at the back. You can see all the drapes that we have there. It's like an oversized hoodie. It's a very simple tutorial to make, and it's really beautiful. This is something you like to learn. Kindly stay tuned to the end of this tutorial. Thank you. We're going to start by cutting the kaftan, the dress first, and then we'll cut the hoodie after joining the dress. So I have folded my fabric into four. I'm folding front and back together. So I'll just take my neck measurement now. My shoulder is 8 inches. So from here I'm marking 8 inches. Sorry, excuse me. I hope you can see my chalk marking. So I have 8 inches there. So for the neckline I'm marking 3 inches for the width. For the depth of the front I'm marking 1 inch, and then for the back 1 inch, and then for the front is a V neckline, depending on how deep you want it to be. So I'll just leave it at around 7 inches, and then I'm going to connect that. So I'll connect my back first, and then after that I'm going to connect the front neckline as well. So for my shoulder slope I'm going to come here on the shoulder line and then mark 1 inch downwards, and then connect to the neck point just like this. Okay, this is a chiffon fabric, by the way. It's a thick chiffon. My armhole is 9 inches, so I'm marking 9 inches here, and on that point I'm going to take my bust measurement. The bust is 44, divided by 4 is 11. I want this to be as free as possible, so I'm going to add 1 inch for ease and 1 inch for seam allowance. So I'm adding extra 2 inches to that. Okay, I hope you can see that. I want it a little fitted on the waistline, but not tight, because it's a free dress, of course. So here I'm going to mark around 15.5 inches for my waist, and my weight is actually 34. Divided by 4 is 8.5. So I have 8.5 inches here, and I'm going to add 1 inch for ease and 1 inch for allowance, just like I did for the bust. So now I'm connecting from the bust to the waist. So I'll go over to the hip as well. I hope you can see. If you don't see it, by the time I cut it out you'll see it's better. Just follow what I'm doing. The chalk is not showing well. So for the hip is 26 inches, and then on that 26 inches point I'm going to take my hip measurement. My hip is 46, divided by 4 is 11 and half, I think. So here 11 and half. I want it really free, so I'm adding extra 3 inches to that. Okay, seam allowance plus ease allowance, and then I'm going to connect this all the way to the hem. So the hem is about 60 inches for me. So before I cut it, I'm just going to go ahead now and draw my armhole cuff with my hat, with the cuff ruler that I have here. So just bear with me. It's not so visible, but by the time I cut it out now, we will see what I am doing better. So that's my armhole cuff there. So I'm cutting it like this, following the line that I have marked there. Just added a little to my waistline there, and you can see the shape that I have for my waist. So here, this is my armhole, this is the shoulder slant, and then this is my back. I'm cutting the back first, then after cutting the back I'll remove the back so that I can cut the front. But now I believe we are seeing the shape that we have here. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to go ahead and cut facing for both front and back. Okay, so I want to cut my front neckline now. So I've removed the back, and then I'll go ahead and cut the V neckline that I want to work with for the front as well, so you can see. So now I'm going to cut facings for both front and back, and then I will go and sew them together. I have cut out the facing. Okay, it's just like a small version of what we have there. So I'm going to add interfacing to it. Like I said, it's chiffon. So, and then after adding interfacing, I'm going to iron in some allowances just like this. You can see how I'm folding it. So this is what I'm going to have by the time I am done. So this is for the front and this is for the back. But before I do this, I'll first join the shoulder together, just like I'm going to join the bodice. You join it separately because that's what we're going to use to turn the neckline and the hoodie together. So this is my front and this is the front and this is the back. So I'll go over to the sewing machine now and join the front and back together on the shoulder as well as the side. I've not decided the sleeve I'm working with first. I'm going to cut out my hoodie, so the remaining fabric I have is what is going to determine the type of sleeve I'm going to use. So I'm going to sew it. You can see the shoulder is joined and then the side is joined as well. I'm going to fix pockets on the side. So for the side, from the hem, I opened it. Remember, it's a straight gap and you need to be able to walk in it freely. So I'm not going to be sewing it to the hem. From the hem, I opened it from 17 inches, around 17 inches downwards. I stopped sewing so that I can have this slit on both sides to be able to walk freely in it. So the next thing is to cut out our hoodie. So to cut the hoodie, I'm going to fold it into half again, just like we cut it out. So this is the back, this is my shoulder line, and this is my V-neck for the front. So you need to determine where you want your hoodie to stop at the front. It's going to be on the entire back, of course, but for the front it's not going to get to the V neckline. So for me, for my shoulder point, I want it to stop around 3 inches. Okay, so I'll just measure around 3 inches from my shoulder, which is here. So now to take the measurement for the hoodie, I'm going to start from that 3 inches mark, and then I'm going to take it all the way to the back. So here I have 7 inches. You can see what I have. I have just 7 inches here for the width of my hoodie. So that's 7 inches. I'm going to add 1 inch to it, and that's going to make it 8. So I'll cut this on the paper so that we can see what I am doing very well. The fabric is multicolored, so the chalk is not going to be so quick. So this is my paper. First thing I'm going to do is to measure out the 8 inches width that I am going to be working with for the hoodie. So you can see, is this small because it's not going to go to the entire front. You can see how I measured it. I just measured 3 inches from my front, which is where I want my hoodie to stop. So I have 8 inches there, and then the height of the hoodie, you just need to measure around your head and leave some space. Okay, so for me, I think I'm going to be marking around 16 inches for mine. So once I mark the 16 inches, I'm going to connect that as well. So this is the space that I'm working with for the hoodie. It's going to be a little bit big. Okay, you can see how long it is. I have 8 inches by 16 inches there. So what I'm going to do now is to just curve it. It cannot be straight like this. I'm just going to curve it in form that my head is going to go through. So it's simple. You just need to curve like this. Okay, so I think I have a tutorial on that already, but for this hoodie is a little bit big, so it's going to be dropping. So this is going to be the center back, okay, the back of the head. So for the back of the head, it's not going to be straight like this. I need it to be dropping to form like a cow at the back. So to do this, I have folded in extra fabric here. So that is what I'm going to use to form the excess that I want. So I think I have 4 inches extra here, as you can see. So what I'm going to do now is to connect. So to be able to connect it well, I'm going to divide the length that I have here. 16 divided by 2 is going to be around 8 inches. So I'm going to have 8 inches here. So now instead of connecting to this actual crease line, which is my measurement before I am doing this extension, I'm just going to connect from this upper part here, and then I'm going to connect to this new line, and then I'll find a way to connect it to the hem as well. I hope you can see the shape that I have. I want to use a freehand so that we can understand this better. I have a tutorial on regular hoodie that's not going to have this extension, so for that you don't need to have this 4 inches extra. All you just need to do is to curve like this to the hem, but because of the excess that I want at the back, that is why I'm measuring this, and then I have found a way to connect like this. Okay, so this is going to be the back of the head now. So for the neckline, I want it to be a little bit shaped. So here on this part, I'm going to come up by ½ an inch. Okay, I'm going to come up by ½ an inch here, and then I'm going to redraw it. So here I'm going to mark around 3 inches. I'm going to be using for the front, okay, including ½ an inch allowance, and then I'm going to connect that to this so that it's not going to be so straight. So you can see the shape that I have here. I have it coming from here, and then it's going to go just like this. So for this part as well, for the front as well, here on this front, I don't want the front, that's what is going to be showing. I just want it a little bit slanted as well. So here I'm going to come here by ½ an inch, come outside by ½ an inch. I'm going to mark the midpoint as well. Here you can come out by ½ an inch or 0.75 inches so that it can come out a little bit more there. And then using my curved ruler, I'm going to connect like this, and then I will link that back to my neck, to my starting point, so you can see that it is no longer straight. And then I'm going to connect like this as well. So that is all I am doing to this hoodie. It's very simple to cut. So I'm going to grab my scissors now and then cut it out. Remember, you are cutting on the ½ an inch that we went off by, and then you're going to link it to the neckline. So here now I'm cutting on this new line as well, and then I'm going to cut the back of the head. So this is the back of the head. Remember, it has extension, so we're going to have like extra at the back. All of this is the actual place where the measurement stops. So all of this now is the extra that is going to be dropping down at the back of the head. So please note that. So I'm just trying to blend everything well here, and then I'm going to connect to this part. So now this is what the hoodie looks like. This is the part that we're going to sew to our neck, which is the down, and this is the full part. So I'll cut 2 of this now. So if you want to add lining to it, you need to cut 4 so that I can use them to turn out each other. I don't have enough fabric for lining, so I'll just cut 2 for one head so that I can join it at my center back. I'm gonna have to cut it on my fabric. You can see what I have cut out now. So I have my full red. This is just 2. So what I'm going to do is to go ahead and sew from here all the way to where the neckline is going to start. So let me explain with the paper. I will join it together. Remember, it's 2 separate pieces now. So I'll sew from this upper part now all the way to this part. This is the neck. You're not going to sew it. So once it's together, this is going to be the open part. Remember, I said I'm not using lining, so I'll just go ahead now and fold this part all around as well so that it can be neat. But if you are using lining, you just need to cut 4 of this. So after sewing the center back, okay, after sewing the back together up to here, then you use them to turn each other so that this part is going to be neat as well. So I've gone ahead to join okay, you can see this is the back. So you can see I have joined it together by my stitch. Okay, so you just go ahead and weave it because we are not fixing lining to it. Then after that, this open part, which is going to be in front, I have gone ahead to hem it as well. So you can see I just hemmed it from here all the way to the back. So this part is what you're going to be sewing to your bodice. Okay, so this is what it looks like. So like I said, if you want to line it, you just cut 2 of it. So after joining the back like this, so you just use them to turn out each other so that this part is going to be neat. And then you can also add interfacing or whatever just to strengthen it. It's going to even make it more stable, especially because I'm using chiffon. So now the next thing I'm going to do now is to go ahead and sew this to the neckline. So I'm going to start from the center back to the front and then back to the other front again. So I'm notching the center back. Remember, I cut out a facing earlier, so this is the facing. that I cut out, and that is what I'm going to be using to clean it up. So this is my facing. I've already added my interfacing to it, and then I folded it inward. So I'm going to reduce this seam allowance that I have here. A facing is just a small size of the neckline. You can see we have our exact neck measurement here, but it's just smaller. So we have cut facing out severally on the channel. So you just place your neckline just like this, then after cutting out your neckline like this part is going to be on full. So you just measure around 2 inches here, and then you connect it back to the shoulder points. You do the same thing for the back as well. So I'm going to sew it. Remember, see how I'm sewing it. This is the wrong side facing the wrong side. So this is the center back that I notched, and this is the center back of the hoodie as well. So after sewing it like this, I'm going to use the facing to turn everything out neatly. So here I'm going to sew towards the front like this, and then do the same thing on the other side. So I have sewn it so where it's going to stop at the back, you can see at the front. So you can see this is the hoodie. So you can see how I sew it in a way that this rough edges is going to be outwards like this. This is the center back, and this is towards the front. So you stop where I marked, which was here. You can see my chalk marking here. That's where it stopped. This is the front, and it is opened like this in front, and it doesn't get to where the V neckline stops. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to try to hide this rough edge. So to do that, I'm just going to try to tuck in the hoodie first, and then I'll bring my facing. So the aim is for the facing to cover it all up like that. So we're just going to imitate it. So I'm going to start pinning like this, and then I'm going to sew it round. Then after sewing it, I'll flip the facing like this. Because I have already ironed this down, it's going to be easy for me. And then I'm going to top stitch on each round. I'll do the same thing for the front as well, so that everything is going to be neatly finished. So it's that simple. This is my neckline. My hoodie has been sewn, and I've suspended it inwards like this. So here I'm just going to notch the center back of the facing as well, and then you can pin it, or you can just sew it directly like that. So this is what you want the facing to be like this, to cover up these rough edges that you have. So what you just need to do is to flip like this, and then by the time you sew it like this and flip, everything is going to be neat, and then we'll have our facing. So I'll first sew the facing, then I'm going to flip it and bring it back to show us, because I want to put this tassel at the center front here. So I'll take us along. So I've sewn it round. Now you can see the hoodie now is in between my facing and my main bodice, and this is the rough edges. So I'm going to go ahead and notch it round because of the curved areas there, and then you're going to lay it. Okay, so at this point I think it's better for you to still have your side seam open, so that it's going to be easy for you to sew. But for us to see it very well, I want the side seam this close, so that we'll understand what I'm doing. So this is my facing now for the front, this is the hoodie, and this is the facing for the back. So I'm just going to pin it round now, and then sew on it all round. So for the front, you can see the front stops here. So here I'm going to fold in by 1/2 inch at the front, and I'll leave it here. So now this tassel is what I'm going to put in between here. So it has this rope, so the rope will be inside like this, and then I'm going to place it like this, so that when I'm sewing, I'll just back stitch on this part, so that it can hold it together, and this can just stay here just like this. So I'll go ahead now and sew it all around. I have sewn it, as you can see now. I've sewn it, I've sewn the casing, and it has completely finished the neckline for me. You can see how beautiful the neckline is looking. So this is the back as well, and this is what the inside looks like. You can see that it is clean both in and out now. So this is what I have, and then on the hem I just place this now, and then I sew it. So at the center here I back stitch this so that it can stay in place for me. So I have also sewn in my pocket. Like I said, I was going to be fixing a pocket. I have a tutorial on how you can fix an inseam pocket on the channel. So this is what it looks like. And then for the sleeve as well, I just sew a long sleeve. Okay, and then I'm going to be passing elastic on the hem of the sleeve. So I'm passing this tiny elastic. Okay, I'll just use it to measure my wrist area, and then I'm going to pass it so that I can gather it back to its actual measurement. Remember, I have my handhole measurement here, so it's still very wide. So that is all I'm going to do now, and then I'll take it to the mannequin so that we can see what it looks like. So this is what our dress looks like. You can see our beautiful hoodie right there. Like I said, I use around 16 inches for the length of mine, so it still gives me room for a lot of free space there. So you can use more or less, just measure what you have. And you can see that I fixed my elastic on the sleeve as well. So it's a very simple dress and it's really fair and beautiful. I'm going to turn it to the back now so that we can see the extension that we did on the drape. So you can see the extension that we have there is not too fitted. It has these drapes like cow effect on the back of the hoodie. It's very beautiful as we have seen. I hope you enjoyed making this lovely tutorial with me. If you enjoyed it, kindly let us know in the comment section. Like, comment and subscribe to our channel, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.